Thomas, it's up for grabs now! Thomas!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it!
Fabulous solo goal by pierre-emerick.
Champions.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Arsenal Lounge, another fantastic Monday night show. This is becoming a bit of a established show. A lot of people, when we do other shows, a lot of people say, I was watching your show and I almost said this on Monday night. So to start with, thank you everybody for your continuous support. I'm speaking on behalf of all four of us. We appreciate your time watching us on Monday evenings, and we hope you enjoy the show. Lev, how are you?
I'm good. Just happy to be back. It's been a little while. Got the full team out today. So, yeah, looking forward to it, hearing these guys and their opinions. It should be interesting.
Nice. Mo, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. So much to discuss since the last time all four of us were together. And, boy, this weekend just added to it, really. All the little discussion points.
Yeah. Tom, how about you?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. Good to be back. Sorry I missed last week. It was I had a very nice meal out, to be fair. I just put that out there, and it was definitely worth it. So
you're not sorry. You're not sorry.
I'm not. No, I'm not really. It was a really nice meal. So yeah, apologies.
You will be sorry later on, mate.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. So let's see, where do we start? Let's start from the Southampton game, obviously. Or do you guys want to go further back? Which one?
Well, I don't know, man. It depends.
Let's start with the Southampton game. And then
I don't want to go too far back. Brings back bad memories. So I'll start getting hazy.
If we have time, we'll discuss other things. So, Tom, you were at the stadium, right?
I was working the game. I weren't at the stadium.
That's what I meant. You were working.
Yeah, I was working the game. It was different, wasn't it? I mean, well, the first 20 minutes wasn't so different, but it became different after we scored, because it's kind of one of those first games where we've scored and then not sat back, which was quite nice. We scored and then we pushed for the second and for the third, and by the end we were just having fun, really. I think the players were genuinely having a good time on the pitch and playing some really good football. They didn't want Southampton to have the ball whatsoever. And there was a lot of positives, which is great. Obviously, there was a lot of narrative before the game, which I'm sure we're going to discuss. Yes, but focusing specifically on the match, I was very impressed with quite a few of the performances. I think after we rode that kind of the Everton hangover, I think we can describe it, in the first kind of 20 minutes of the game. After we'd rode that out, there were some really strong performances from plenty of players on the pitch. And I mean, Shaheen stepped up once again, and I'm sure we'll have a chat about him in a minute.
So you put the tweet out. I did respond to that as well. I don't know if you saw.
I didn't actually. No, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was saying that you agreed with me wholeheartedly, and that he's now your favourite player in the squad. I imagine.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but it was something in that simple line. Mo, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, it started off so badly the day or the game, because obviously we had the news about Aubameyang, and then the opening part of the game was really, really not going to plan. And I just thought to myself, God, after 2 defeats, it's just a reflection of where the team are, some internal disharmony. And I just was really, really fearing the worst. And I guess we were lucky that we played the lowest ranked team in the league that we haven't already beaten. Yeah. So we'd beaten 17th, we'd beaten 18th, we'd beaten 19th, we'd beaten 20th. Thankfully, it was the next easy game. We just beat 16th. Because I feel like if it was better opposition, the start of the game could have led to a very, very different afternoon. But ultimately, it was a very good afternoon. We have to take those when we can get them this season, because, we know we're not the real deal. And I think I'm very relieved for Mikel Arteta, because when you make a big decision like he did, and he made this big decision last season, North London derby, and you guys will remember that since that day, I've always called into question Aubameyang and Arteta's relationship and Aubameyang's level of performances, and whether that's materially, that day alone has materially impacted his performances and relationship. So when I saw Arteta do it again, I thought to myself, oh God, same old story. I don't see this ending well. But just like that day, today, on the day against Southampton, we won the game. Perhaps Arteta should do this every flipping week. maybe Aubameyang doing us a favour. Every time he drops him, we get a result. And Lacazette especially performed really well. So from really fearing the worst, we ended up with our biggest margin of victory in the Premier League this season. I left the stadium very happy.
Very good. Lev?
Well, as you know, Shaheen, we discussed this in the previous show, and it's hard to gauge really just how happy we should be with the performance because, as Mo rightly said, it was against Southampton. They came at a good time for us. And first 20 minutes, we looked like we had lost all confidence from the previous two results. If we were playing someone better and a bit more ruthless, who knows what could have happened. We did eventually see a performance. The confidence did sort of start to increase throughout the game, and there are some positives out of it. I mean, Odegaard, that's 3-3 now. I'm questioning whether he's an attacking midfielder. He's now putting in some goals and he's starting to do a bit more damage in the final third. I saw a lot more from him, so that was a positive for me. I'm still concerned. I'm a little bit hesitant to be overly infused by it because, for me, a team like Southampton, our midfield didn't really dominate the way I expected the midfield to dominate in the central area. So that, for me, is a concern against the bigger opposition. We've seen us struggle in those central areas against the likes of Liverpool, even Man United recently wasn't great. So I want to see these guys put in a performance against a real good outfit, and they're going to have a serious test in the next game with West Ham, with the likes of Rice and Soucek in midfield. So that's when we can decide where we're at once we've seen us put in a performance against those guys. And as Burnley has shown, you know what? You could have a lesser squad and come up with a result. So there's no excuse. But yeah, it was a positive result. 3 points in the bag, and it keeps us in the hunt.
Yeah, very good assessment all around, I think. What I would say is I've seen quite a few people having a bit of a fit on Twitter with especially the first goal. Arteta ball this, Arteta ball that. Let's not forget we played against Southampton and a poor Southampton team. This is what is expected. You know, we haven't done that against Man City or Liverpool or a better team. As Mo rightly said, we played a team that is 16th and 2 keeper out, third choice keeper. So this is what is expected of Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. Actually, this is the bare minimum of what is expected. On the other hand, I was pleased with the fact that once we scored the first goal, we didn't sit back. And we went to get the second goal, and we quickly got the second goal, and that changed the game completely. And that's what we haven't been doing in previous games. And you know what? I've always said things that I've criticized players before, or managers before, and when they've done well, I've come out and said, and I thought, Odegaard, he played well. He's been scoring, which is what I called for him to do. You know, this is something we're lacking, you know, people from midfield to come and score a goal. And Mo was right. At the beginning, we were a bit sloppy. You know, I remember Gabriel placed a misplaced ball, and if you do that against a better team, that could end quite differently. And I agree with you, Lev, that our grip of midfield was not great. And I expected us to dominate the midfield a little bit more. But we move on. And as Mo said, we just take these points when they come along. I'm happy we got the point. I'm happy we won. But that's what I was expecting anyway. So I was not expecting us to go and lose against Southampton. I've seen a lot of people talking about Aubameyang on the chat. So let's remind as well. Tom, you were not here last week. We discussed this with Sophie.
He's been fined as well. Yeah. I'm guessing we fined him for not being here, yeah?
Unbelievable, yeah.
No, he's all right. He had a legitimate excuse, so it's all right.
God.
Not
cut out for this management malarkey.
Can I carry on, Lev, if you don't mind? Right. So we discussed this Aubameyang thing with Mo, Sophie, and Lev, and I raised the point, and I said, when you're talking about Arsenal captain, you know, the names that come to my mind are Tony Adams, Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry, Gilberto Silva, Martin Keown, David Seaman, characters, you know, David Rocastle, going back, Pat Rice, that sort of characters, you know. And then we've now come to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And he can have a tattoo. He's not a problem. He's got many already. But this was a point that Moore raised, actually. The awareness and the decision that, is it wise for me to go and put that out there on the social media, with everything that has been said? Would because this comes after Ronaldo, the post with Ronaldo, and Mo thought that this was a PR team, his PR team that is managing his account, and I saw Mo putting out like a questionnaire type of thing out on his Twitter, and a lot of people thought it's actually Aubameyang himself, and I thought it was himself. This guy is not acting like an Arsenal captain, anywhere near an Arsenal captain. He's not putting the performances that we're asking him or is required of him. What's going on? Where do we stand? Is it a problem with the manager? Is it him coming to an end of his career? Is it him not caring? Because if you're losing at Old Trafford, right, and you coming off the pitch within the first 15, 20 minutes, first thing you do is you go and like the player who scored 2 goals against you. To me, that shows you're not angry, you're not hurt. If you're not angry and you're not hurt, that means you don't care. If you don't care, that means you're just here to collect a wage. Now, let's not forget, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang single-handedly, right, has dragged Arsenal through the table previous seasons. He scored a lot of goals, important goals, right? And he's done, in a short space of time that he's been here, he's done fair bit for the club. So I find it, I'm a bit conflicted to criticize him heavily, knowing what he's done. But then I look at what's happening now, and I just see a guy that in my view doesn't care. He's not really bothered. So this is my question to all of you. One, is it him? He doesn't care. Is he coming to the end of his career? Is it a problem with the manager?
Who do you want to answer first?
Tom.
I think that I would personally, from my perspective, strip the captaincy as where I'm at. About a week ago, I'm thinking about the ramifications of making that decision. Would that rock the boat too much? Is that too premature? And I think actually making an example is probably the right way to go on this one. I think he's made consistent errors. It's not like the first time this has happened, him being late. Like, we know what happened in the North London derby last season. The tattoo thing was I think the Athletic described it as a bit of a red herring in the end, because it was uploaded, I think, by the tattoo artist rather than his team on their story. But I mean, the timing of it wasn't great. I mean, Auba could have had a word and been like, look, probably not the best of times. Can you take that down, sort of thing? But obviously it stayed up. In terms of his form, in terms of like what he's been given to the team, he has been trying a bit harder in terms of his link-up play, but his form is dire. I think it highlights that we clearly need to move on from him in that position. And there's clearly a strong link to strikers, not just for the upcoming summer window, but it seems to be that there's an acceleration of those plans towards January, and Arsenal could potentially bring someone in January. I hope that they do. I'd be surprised if they do, but we potentially could do. I just think that he's a player that is obviously on the downslope. He's a player that we know from his time, at the end of his time at Dortmund, it wasn't particularly nice. He wasn't the most professional during those times, and the fallout from that as well. I think is it Vatska, who was kind of a high executive there, that he had a falling out with, and there was a big.
Is that the same guy that they had a bit of afters as well when he came to Arsenal?
I think that he called himself. I think Aubameyang tweeted him, calling him a clown at one point, like because of I think Vatska said something along the lines of like he's moved for the money kind of thing as well. And he took exception to that and tweeted at him. And of course, we've known he's got him to go back and forth on Twitter with the likes of Tony Cruz. I actually backed Aubameyang in that scenario in particular. I thought he was right on that end. But look, I think it's probably time to move on from Aubameyang, and it's just tricky when we have another striker whose contract ends in 6 months, along with Nketiah, and you've got 18 months left on Aubameyang. Who's going to take a 300k per week striker in the January or the summer? Even if you tried to give him away, I think you would struggle, to be honest.
So your view on this is that he's coming to an end of his career. Do you think there's a problem with the manager?
I'd be surprised if there wasn't, because you've got now a situation where he's had to drop him twice. You've had 2 breaches through disciplinary action. You've put faith in this guy to be not only to continue with the captaincy, but also to give him a £300,000 per week contract. I would be shocked if there isn't an issue between the two. And I'd be, I find it odd that there is, a criticism of Arteta in this scenario. And hey, look, we've all criticised Arteta, and quite rightly at certain points. But I'm struggling to see the criticism of Arteta's handling of this situation. Just saying that it was a disciplinary breach and say outing him, if you like, as it's being described, I find it a bit odd, because I appreciate the clarity. He didn't go into immense detail. It had to be then reported through the media what actually happened. And I think the fans had a right to know why the club captain was being dropped from that game.
Well, so I'm not being funny, but as fan base, we've always called for clarity from the club. And now that we're getting it, I agree with you. I don't really see why everyone's moaning about it. I've criticised Arteta before. I'm not his biggest fan, but I love the fact that he's actually said what the issue is. So we all know in terms of coming up with the stories. Oh, I wonder if it's this. I wonder. Now we know what it is. Mo, you've heard what Tom said. You know the issues. Where do you stand on this? Because you've backed Aubameyang before.
No, I mean, I back him in terms of believing in him, in his ability. But I do not back him with these disciplinary breaches. Back when he did it the first time, North London Derby, I was very disappointed in him because of the game, but you also realise that everyone's human. And if that was his first time and that sort of thing, then you can kind of say, look, on balance, everything that he's done for the club, that hasn't come out of no effort. That's come because of a lot of effort, a lot of good performances. So when that first breach happens, I can look at that and say, that doesn't override everything else that he's done positive for the club, that one negative. And, given that he had done so brilliantly for us and was on good form. Now this is the second time. And also when I say second time, there's a massive kind of asterisk there of what we know. There could have been stuff that has been kept private as well. So this is the second time the club or the manager have chosen to go public, which to me, I'd be surprised if he went public 100% of the time. Yeah, so I imagine there's more behind the scenes. So now we've got him doing that twice minimum. And also this time it's not off the back of good form and the team in a good place. It's on the back of 2 defeats for the team and him on awful form, which makes it a lot less forgivable. I said in my post-match on my own channel, if Mohamed Salah went and did something stupid tomorrow, okay, carry on scoring, bail yourself out of any criticism, fine. But when you're not performing, and this is why football is very different, or the life of a sportsman is very different. It's not like you're a movie star where if your last movie was good, you can get away with being stupid. But in sports, for some reason, it works like that. You can take the pressure off yourself by performing well. So I was really annoyed at him this time. So this time I'm not backing him, but I don't agree with what you said, Tom, in terms of finding it strange about criticising Arteta. There are 2 angles to this. There's the Aubameyang angle where I feel like everyone should be aligned that what Aubameyang has done is unacceptable as a club captain, someone on poor form, the team's in a difficult spell, blah, blah, blah. But the Arteta one is subjective because whilst what Aubameyang did is categorically wrong, what Arteta did is select a management style. So now this is subjective. It comes down to a matter of opinion. I don't agree with his management style because I'll ask you, did it work the first time? If it's happening again, clearly it didn't work the first time. If you look at his form since that first time, clearly it didn't work the first time. So why are you doing that again? We've always said that our success is very closely linked to Aubameyang's performances. He's that sort of talismanic figure. We need to get the best out of him. We haven't done that so far this season and we've struggled. And I don't think Lacazette is that goal getter that we can rely on for the rest of the season. So I would have liked to have seen a different style that Arteta has employed in dealing with this. But I have to say, as I said, I don't think Arteta has gone public 100% of the time. So if, let's say, for example, Mikel Arteta was watching this, he might be banging his head against the wall, saying, "You idiot! This is the 8th time Aubameyang has done this. I made the mistake the first time. The next 6, I kept it quiet. This time, I've gone public again. In which case, fair play to him." My point is there that we don't know the full picture, so we have to reserve a little bit of humility, let's say, in terms of our judgments, because there could be a lot more to it than what we know. But I would have liked Arteta to have kept it private. And if you're not going to keep it private, if you're going to go public with it, you should be going public when you've tried everything else. And at the time you go public on that case, you're basically burning your bridge. Where I expect you to say, I expect you to come out and say, "This is the 8th time he's done it. The last 6 times I've kept it private. So this is why I'm now going public." And then also removing the captaincy from him. If you're going to go public, go flipping hard. Until then, it should be kept private. And that was the Arsene Wenger way of doing things. So maybe I'm too accustomed to that. But now Mikel Arteta, either go 100% or you should have just kept it quiet. Over to you.
So am I correct in saying that you think that North London derby business was a trigger for all of this to unfold? Possibly.
Yeah, I've said it many times with you guys before. Since then, I don't think Aubameyang has been the same. I feel like it affected their relationship.
Lev, so same thing to you, and you've heard what guys have to say. I just want to add something to this as well when it comes to you, because you have a hard view on this. So Aubameyang, for 2 disciplinary reasons, he's been left out, not performing well. I agree with Tom. I think there are problems behind the scene between him and the manager. Right? So is he going to get this is on top of everything else that obviously you need to say. Is he going to get the same treatment that Mesut Ozil got? Because remember, Ozil was not performing well. He was not, getting along with the team. He had problems with the manager, and he was one of the captains at the time, obviously, at the club. So do you think we can, because, bearing in mind, Arteta picks and chooses who he dishes it out to. So is he going to get that sort of treatment that Mesut Ozil got? And more importantly, does he deserve that sort of treatment?
Right. Firstly, I agree with what Mo was saying in the sense of the relationship has suffered since that North London derby incident. He hasn't been the same, and there's something not right in general. I think Aubameyang's issues are not. There's a lot of people saying he's finished and this, that, and the other, but I personally think it's more of a mental issue. He's getting in the positions, he's missing a lot of chances, which indicates the player is still getting in the positions he should be able to get into. So I don't think that he's finished. I think he's distracted. He's not all there mentally. The problem we have at the moment as fans is one thing getting behind one of your own, having a bad run of form, and it's another getting behind one of your own that's doing this on top of that. That's what the problem is, because it's different. As fans, he could change it tomorrow. He could get a couple of goals, get back on as Mo said, with sport, it's very different. You can get back on a goal-scoring form, and everyone forgets very, very quickly. Problem is when you're performing to the levels that he is performing at currently, and then on top of that doing this stuff, it then starts to breed contempt from the fans. The fans start looking at that and thinking, you're taking the piss out of us. You're not only, screwing up on the field and not giving 100% and not doing what you're supposed to be doing on the field, but on top of that, you're being tardy off it. So what's going on? Now, Mo rightly said as well, it could be a number of occasions this has happened. We're questioning whether or not Arteta's gone out in public, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. If it's only a second into maybe it is wrong. But at the same time, we don't know that it is. And one thing we do know, as he also rightly said, was that at Dortmund, he started to become a problem. Is this somebody that can't handle a poor run of form? Is this somebody that when he does have a poor run of form, he decides to sort of hide, become distant, have mental issues, not be focused, start to drift away and not take ownership of the fact that he's in a bad run of form and saying to himself, I'm on 300k here. I owe it to the club, I owe it to the fans, I'm not delivering. That's where he's going wrong here. With regards to the Ozil treatment, my answer to that is this. If he carries on with the way he's going on, then yes, he will get that treatment. I think he's already starting to get it. I wouldn't even be surprised if they've already kind of subconsciously made up their mind that they're selling him. or they're replacing him and they're moving on from him, because the way they seem to be dealing with him is not somebody that they were dealing with a year or two ago who was priority to keep. We were throwing money at him to keep him. It's almost like he's an issue now. So he can, and Arsenal will freeze him out if he carries on the way he's carrying on. I hope he doesn't end his legacy this way. I agree with Tom. I think we should maybe strip the captaincy off him. Maybe in a funny way, it will have a positive influence on him. It will kick him up the arse. It will get rid of that added pressure on him and make him focus on what he's supposed to be doing, which is scoring goals. Well, listen, we can only hope. There's a player in there. He doesn't suddenly become an awful striker overnight. And as I said before, he's getting in a lot of positions and he's missing a lot of chances. That is not somebody that's physically finished. That's somebody that's mentally not all there.
I think Jasmine in the chat raised a decent point as well, because he's talking about the Willian situation. It's like the inconsistency of Arteta is a real concern. Like, he's treated some players one way and others another.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I agree with that. He has.
Yeah, there's a super chat from SK as well. Thanks for your super chat as well. Can't wait till we get rid of Arteta.
Dictator.
Dictator. I know that, but I wasn't gonna.
I think he was playing on the word dictator rather than dick.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks for that, Lev. That was great.
Shaheen seemed to get really nervous when he saw that, so I just
don't know. There's a lot of people I can see on the comments here and on Twitter and on Instagram saying we should get rid of him. We should move him on. Okay. Now, if you kind of leave that topic for a second and come back down to earth, who is going to come and get Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang?
Yeah.
Newcastle.
I don't even think Newcastle will come and get him.
I bet you they would.
I actually do not see any.
That would be a great statement. They would get him all day long.
Let me just say this. Look where Newcastle are in the league. So I think that desperation plus that money could make a decision and say, no other club will be willing to pay what.
Would he go though?
Would he turn up on time?
No, is he going to go? If it gets you survival, I mean, they could say to him, like, £1 million goal bonus, because if it gets you survival, then it's worth it, right? So I think Newcastle actually, if I'm Newcastle. If I'm in charge of Newcastle and I'm looking for proven Premier League goal scorers, and not just Premier League, but like proper proven goal scorers, I've said it a million times before. Look at who the top goal scorers of the decade. Aubameyang's there. He's that good. Yeah, he's that good. When we're measuring over in 10 years across different leagues, he's up there with the top elite players. Who are Newcastle going to get that's better than that to try and maintain their place in the Premier League?
No, that's one side of the coin. The other side is he going to leave London, Arsenal to go to Newcastle? That's the other side.
For a short-term contract.
There's rumours of Barca, isn't there?
Listen, man, people leave London and go to China. They go to Qatar. They go anywhere and everywhere to go and play football when it comes to the last big money move. So, yes.
Well, one thing about this podcast is sometimes we agree to disagree, and that is one of them. I disagree, Mo, because I don't actually see anybody coming and taking a player that is out of form, 350,000, a bit of a problematic player. I think he does have that reputation now that you could have an issue with him from Dortmund and now in Arsenal. And I'm going to come to you guys on this. But Tom, where do you see this unfolding? And also, have we now shot ourselves in foot, is the polite word, with dishing out another massive contract to somebody who's coming towards the end of their career just to convince them to stay, and now it's becoming it has backfired. Is it a good idea to dish out this sort of contract? Because it seems that when players get it, they kind of lose a bit of motivation and focus, and they're like, I know I'm going to get this money for the next 2 or 3 years or whatever. And as I said, more importantly, what I want to hear from you and obviously the guys as well is what is the exit strategy from the club when it comes to Aubameyang?
I mean, on the contracts, if we don't learn from this one, then there's real questions you've got to ask yourselves. It's not to say that you can't give a big money contract to someone. It's just about assessing the situations. Because in both scenarios, we've had two players that have been reaching they're in their 30s or just approaching, in the case of Ozil, like hitting that 30-year-old age. You're only going to be regressing from there. Naturally, outfield players, especially in the final third, end of the pitch, regress at that kind of age. So the contract that you're likely giving more money to for those years is never going to see the same return that you got in the previous 2 or 3 years prior to that signing of the contract, just because of the way football works and how players regress over that period of time. So if it's a case of you're looking to sign someone, say if we had Aubameyang performing as he did at a 24-year-old, say, age, you could justify kind of that contract because you're looking to keep someone into their prime. They're only going to get better. But we have to learn not to give those kind of contracts to the players in that kind of age bracket. I think in regards of the second part of your question of how we manage the situation, it's a really tricky one because Arteta's obviously by going public with this, which I don't personally have an issue with. It creates a situation where it gives there's two kind of routes. The one route is to kind of challenge Aubameyang, and now Aubameyang's got to take it upon himself to get back into the team and prove why he should be part of it and kind of make up for the things he's done wrong. Or it goes the complete other wrong direction where he sulks and he doesn't get in the team, or the relationship completely breaks down, and then we're without him for however long until we get a replacement. We weren't going to have him in January anyway because of the African Cup of Nations, of course. But I don't feel like Lacazette is enough to get us towards our targets, possibly even top 6 this season. I mean, if you look at the results in the Premier League of the last couple of years, you need to be scoring 50-plus goals to get into the top 6. And if you're thinking about having a 20-goal-a-season striker, that still means you've got to find 30-plus goals from elsewhere. And that's something we're struggling to do at the moment. So is Lacazette going to get you that amount of goals? The answer is probably not. So we would surely have to then go into the market in January and bring someone in. But in terms of a club, I don't think he would go to Newcastle. I get the idea and the finances and kind of why that side of it makes sense, but I don't think he would go there. Maybe MLS, maybe. I know money talks, Mo. I know it does, but I just can't see him swapping it. I mean, what's the difference for a £300,000 per week contract in London to say a £400,000 to £500,000 per week contract in Newcastle? I'm not sure there's too much of a difference.
A few Lamborghinis. Look, it's amazing. It's amazing because Aubameyang lives like one hell of a lifestyle. We've all kind of seen it on socials, and it costs a hell of a lot of money to, live that lifestyle. And I just reckon, honestly, look, we don't know his financial affairs, but if I was his financial advisor, I'd be looking at thinking, how are you going to maintain this for the next 50 years? So honestly, I feel like it all depends on money. And if the Saudis at Newcastle want to guarantee Premier League survival, Aubameyang's a very good shout. I do think it's obviously unlikely, but I think there could be enough money to tempt him. There's certain players who just wouldn't do it. And I agree with what you're saying there. What's the difference between 300 and 500? But I think that Aubameyang's head could be turned.
Okay, just hold on, Mo, because I need to come back to you with some points that you didn't address. I just want to go through some super chats. So we've got one from Rabadam. Thank you for your super chat. Exit strategy, well, same as Ozil, most likely. That's what his view is. Alexander Klapov, thank you as always for your kind super chat. Just wanted to thank you guys for doing these. It's great after a win, but when we lose, these are as close to therapy as it gets. Thank you for your support and your kind words, man. Much appreciated. And Tom Snack, why are we not using ESR in the middle as number 10? Am I the only one who can see that we would be more dangerous if he played in that position? Well, we will come to that when we're going to talk about West Ham game in a minute.
Can I just ask, Shaheen, yes. Sorry, on that first super chat about exit strategy, same as Ozil, I'm just trying to clarify what he means, what Rabbi means by that.
Terminate the contract.
Probably.
He's got 18 months left. That would cost a ridiculous amount of money to do.
So does he mean sort of exit strategy in terms of he'll just run it down?
Well, I mean, who was a Radabam, I think. If you can just put it in a comment and just clarify it, I'll put it on the screen. But more, going back to Aubameyang, right? So if let's say, I know you said that Newcastle probably is an option, but apart from Newcastle, do you see anybody coming in for him? And if somebody is going to come in for him, what sort of fees are we talking about considering his salary?
Yeah, realistically, he's not going anywhere because it's such a high bar. So, you know, the conversation about what teams could possibly get him is very, very short. And Newcastle is probably ridiculously high odds of it happening. But in terms of the teams that could do it, they're probably the favourites. So, and that tells you everything we need to know. But, you know, I am absolutely fed up of Aubameyang after this. I really, really am. No matter what I think about Arteta as a manager, and even the managerial style that he has chosen to use to deal with this, aside from all of that, I'm on Arteta's side because Arteta's done nothing wrong. Aubameyang, what he's done, I'm disgusted by. I'm so annoyed by it. You imagine had we lost against Southampton, you know, it would have been crisis.
Does anyone here think that his form has suffered because of the style that Arteta plays doesn't suit him, and maybe he's just getting frustrated with it now? Because that's what I feel. I feel like he's got to a point where he's lost belief in what Arteta's doing. It's affected his confidence, and then even when he does get the chances, that confidence and that focus isn't there right now.
If you're a striker,
you might be right, but look, for ages, Leno played under Arteta, and Arteta's style didn't suit Leno. But Leno then, and now that he's been dropped, has been nothing but professional.
Yes.
And that sort of conduct deserves our respect. And I know you're not excusing Aubameyang here, so I'm not even taking what you said to mean that. You're just kind of putting your theory out there, which I get. And I agree with that. But, you know...
we can't forgive him for the disciplinary issues. Yes, mate.
So, obviously... We'll come to you with this Aubameyang situation in terms of who's going to come and get him. Where is he going to go? Is it realistic that he's going to do? But before you do, can you just read out this super chat from Wayne? Because I think it goes a little bit hand in hand with what you were saying.
Wayne. How you doing, brother? $10. Thank you for your support as always, man. Arsenal fans are way too fickle. Auba isn't done. He still has his pace, stays fit. He's having a mental downturn of form. He's not captain material. Let him play without that pressure. This is what we were saying, isn't it, earlier on? I mean, personally, I do think the problems with Aubameyang are mental because you don't miss sitters because you're finished. You don't. That's the last thing you lose is your ability to finish. So I don't buy that. With regards to what we should do with him, personally, listen, we're not going to sell him. I don't think anyone's going to be able to afford it. We're saying Newcastle, but let's be honest, I don't think he'd want to go. If it was going to go anywhere, it would be somewhere nice and warm and with a bit of kudos behind it, like Barcelona. I mean, between Barcelona and Newcastle, you're going to choose Barca, let's be honest. Ideally, I think he probably wants to stay. I think we need to focus, personally, rather than looking to offload him, we need to focus on getting the best out of him whilst we have him. I think maybe going out and actually getting a proper striker that puts some real steam up his arse and make him think, oh my God, I've got to earn the right to play, you know, and get goals. Maybe that will help. I don't know, but I can't see us offloading him like Mo rightfully said. He's on too much money, so he's going to sit tight until that contract ends. So I think the better thing is to focus on how we get the best of him whilst we're here and see if we can get some competition.
I agree with what you guys are saying. I think Aubameyang is going to run down his contract, just like everybody else has done. £350,000 a week is a nice bit of money. I don't think anybody will come and offer him that sort of money. And he will just sit comfortably, run it down. If we can't get the best out of him, you know, he would look at it and he would say, yeah, it's their problem. I'm the captain here. It's up to the manager to get the best out of me. If he's not, so be it. He will run down his contract, and then once he's done, he will move on, and he will sign another big contract somewhere with one of these clubs who pay a lot of money. I don't think he's captain material. I don't think he's ever been a captain material. I think Ramsdale is more of a captain than Aubameyang.
Well, Shaheen, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, I was meant to actually bring it up. Why not? Why not? Sentiment actually came up with a really, really straightforward but a very cutting question. What exactly is an Arsenal captain nowadays? What is it? Because it seems to me like you rightfully said.
Can I leave that topic for another day? Right?
Oh, right,
Because
okay.
we've got about 20-25 minutes left, and I want to talk about the West Ham game as well. So if you want to briefly talk about it, then fine.
No, I'm just asking, like, what is an Arsenal captain? That's what why not ask. I think it's a very, very valid question. What is an Arsenal captain nowadays?
From me, short and simple, I think it's just a dangling carrot nowadays to get somebody to sign a contract, because it means from what we've seen. I mean, Willian, Gallas, Ozil, Aubameyang, these guys. I mean, it doesn't represent what he used to do when people like Vieira, Adams, and those guys used to wear it. That's my view. But if you guys want to quickly have yours, Tom and Mo.
It's a bit token now, isn't it? I mean, the captaincy for Arsenal, it doesn't seem to have that same weight as it used to. Well, it should be you're the direct line from the manager to the players. You've got to go out there and ensure that those 11 players on the pitch, including yourself, are doing what the manager's asking, as Tony Adams would do for George Graham. So that's what you expect, but that's not seemed to be what we're getting right now, is it?
It's lost its prestige, and it's Kieran Tierney. That's who it should be. That's what it should be.
Okay. Right. So let's talk about West Ham now. This Wednesday, we're playing West Ham at the Emirates. Normally, this is a game that, again, I would expect us to win. I've said this against Man United. I got hammered for it. Unfortunately, I'm going to say it again, that I expect us to lose. Only reason, I don't expect Mikel Arteta to get the right tactics, and West Ham are in an extremely good bit of form. They are very well organised, strong in midfield, very good. I mean, David Moyes is doing a really good job there. How should we approach this, Tom?
As you say, West Ham are a side that turn up in the big games. Their issue this season has been they've not been able to get the points in the games they should be expected to. We saw that at the weekend against Burnley. But against Liverpool, against Chelsea, they really get up for those big fixtures. And so they will be looking at us as a side that they need to get the points against. And they've got the significant personalities in their team to do that. So look, we need to combat it by knowing that we're at home. The Emirates has been an exceptionally successful place for us this season. I think are we second or first in the table for points collected at home of all the Premier League sides? So it's become a real fortress for us this year. So we need to approach it knowing that we are the home side. We need to take the game to West Ham. We need to put them on the back foot as soon as possible. They've got issues at the back because they're without players like Zuma, etc., that are injured. We need to take advantage of that as best we can. And if we play like we played against Southampton for the last 70 minutes of the game, I would be confident that we can get a result because we played some really good football in that game. People very quickly want to point towards Southampton being bad, and they were. There's no argument to say that they weren't. But Arsenal still played some really good stuff during that game that most teams, if we'd have played that way against them, would still struggle to cope with. So I want to see the quick passing. I want to see the direct nature of our play. I want to see us being clinical in the final third. I want to see the fullbacks getting up and supporting the wingers and the forward line. I want to see us being dominant. What I don't want to see is us play like we have done at Man United and Everton, where if we do get a goal, that we sit back and we absorb pressure, because West Ham have got far too much quality, and they will get the game back. They will get momentum, and they will end up winning if we do play like that.
Do you have confidence in Arteta doing what you said?
History tells you no, so probably not, mate.
I'm exactly the same boat as you, Tom. Everything you said, I agree, of how we should approach the game, what we should do. We should go out there with a home game. My problem is I don't have confidence in.
It'd be the biggest win of the season, like without a shadow of a doubt. If we win this game, it'll be bigger than the Spurs game, because Spurs were awful. Not in terms of kind of the euphoria of beating Spurs, but in terms of competitiveness this season, it would be the biggest win for Arteta this season if we got this one.
Okay, Mo?
Well, I think the home form is a really difficult one to read because, as Tom said, there's no team in the league that's got more points out of their 8 home games so far this season. Man City and Arsenal are on 19, more than Liverpool and Chelsea. We've accumulated from our home games. But as I said, of those 8 victories that we've, is it 8 victories we've had at home? No, but of those 19 points, 15 of them have come from 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. So, and then also. No, they weren't all home games. What it is that quite a few of those were at home, and then also it was Tottenham and Villa, wasn't it, where they both sacked their managers after we went and beat them. So it's a difficult one because the teams that we have beaten at home clearly aren't showpiece games, and this is, if we beat West Ham, this will be probably the highest ranked team that we've beaten, or the most impressive team that we've beaten at home this year. So I'm looking at our home form and I'm thinking, is it that we're really good at home, or we've just had a fairly decent run at home? Because also I can look at our away form and say, is it that we're absolutely awful away from home, or have we actually had quite a few of our difficult away games already? So I think the two are quite polar opposites. We've had easy home games and done well. We've had difficult away games and haven't done well. West Ham are now going to be that test for us to say, okay, is it that we're good at home, or was it just good opposition? But the problem is, I am nervous because West Ham they deserve respect this season. They've done really well, but I just think that we are a different proposition at home, and I hope that we've got enough about us and we go into the game with enough positivity. The thing that concerns me is that against Man United, against Everton, we went 1-0 up and we sat back. Now, I doubt the manager would be saying, sit back when you go 1-0, irrespective of how many minutes are on the clock. And against Southampton, we didn't do that. We kept on pushing forward. We pressed, we attacked. But it's very easy to get your point across, and not just get your point across, but for your point to be actually implemented against easier opposition at home than it is against difficult opposition away. So now we're seeing difficult opposition at home. I'm very curious to see whether, if we do go a goal up, how we respond, and if we go a goal down, will we just wilt? So it's a real 50-50 game, the way I see it.
Mo, if you had to put money on this, and I'm not suggesting that you gamble at all, would you put your money on Xhaka and Partey, or Soucek and Declan Rice?
Soucek, Declan Rice, yeah. I mean, against Southampton, a good performance, 3-0 victory, but our midfield was awful. I thought Partey and Xhaka were terrible.
Yeah, because that will be our midfield, Xhaka and Partey. You know that, right?
Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
Lev.
Yes.
What about you? What's your thoughts on this West Ham game? And I've got a question for you at the end of it as well.
Right. Okay. Look, my concern is the midfield area. I've said it before. I'll say it again. My concern is the midfield area. And it's weird because, I was hoping we were going to address that, and everyone was hoping that the likes of Partey being brought in would strengthen us there, not really galvanized us in the midfield area the way we expected it to. The key area is going to be between Soucek, Rice, and Partey and Xhaka, 100%. The thing about West Ham is, I know they're doing really well, and I think that Moyes done great with them. I think he's punching way above his weight at the moment with this team. I'm not saying they're not a good outfit. I do think they've got a golden sort of gen, should we say, of players at the moment. Rice coming through at the right time is all working out nicely for him. He's assembled with a good team there, but I do think they're a little bit light as a squad in general to sustain it throughout the whole season, unless they do something in Jan. So at some point, we are going to start to see it affect them a little bit. All it takes is one injury to the likes of Antonio or someone like that, and they're in a spot of bother. So I do expect physically for them to start suffering through the course of the season, and I'm hoping that might start now. I fancy us in this game. I don't know why. I'm probably just being overly optimistic. I know it's just me being stupidly optimistic as an Arsenal fan. I try to keep myself. I can't bring myself to say we're gonna lose. But
it's just being realistic, man.
No. But I can't go into a game thinking we're going to lose. It's just the way I am. I'm not saying that it's not possible. Of course it is. But even the games against Man United and Everton that we lost, really, you could argue that if we really focused and really believed in it, we could have won those games just as easily as we've lost them. Right, so I do think that we've got a chance against West Ham. I do think being at home it will be different. I'll be much more worried about it away. The battle between Antonio and our centre backs is going to be crucial. Their transition when Benrahma gets the ball and turns and goes, that's a little bit worrying as well. However, I do fancy us in this game. Don't ask me why. I just do.
Okay. The question that I have for you is, do you think Ben White is having nightmares about facing Mikel Antonio?
Yes, I do. Thing
Hold
is,
on, stop. Wait, 1 second left. Why are you pulling that face, Tom? Like you don't agree?
No, it's not. I don't agree. It's I just feel like Ben White is always thrown into kind of the fire pit of criticisms when I think he's had a very decent season.
I think he's going to avoid playing up against Gabriel, isn't he? He will try to avoid going up against Gabriel.
He won't be having nightmares because he doesn't watch football. Remember, so he's got no idea what Antonio.
He doesn't even know who Antonio is.
He thinks he's a Latino singer.
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No. I just think, look, the interesting thing I'd like to see is how Arteta actually sets up. Because if he plays a high line, there's a chance that Antonio will run in behind. Right, he's got the pace to do it. If you drop too deep, he could back into the centre backs and roll them, and again cause problems. So it's going to be interesting to see who sets up, how he sets up. Should I say? Between it's all going to come down to Arteta's tactics. If he gets it right, I fancy off. But how he sets up, I mean, I'd like to ask you guys, how would you set up, knowing that you've got a centre back that can run in behind, but at the same time is equally as strong, sort of backing into centre backs, rolling them in the box or on the edge of the box and drawing fouls?
Look, talking about, I just want to address this Ben White thing. It will be a very tough test for Ben White because we all know he struggles with better physicality and aerial ball. So if somebody's playing against him, that they're quite big, they can hold the ball and they give him aerial challenge, he struggles. And that is not my opinion. That is fact. And I think Mikel Antonio will play off of Ben White on Wednesday, not Gabriel, because Gabriel will give him a game, not Ben White. So I hope he comes out with flying colours. I sincerely do, because if we can keep Mikel Antonio quiet, we've got a good chance. But guys, if you want to address Lev's point more, Tom, how you expect him to set up?
I think what he'll do is, I expect him to approach the game exactly the same as he approached Southampton. To be honest, I don't think he's looking at games individually anymore. I think he's trying to set Arsenal up from a kind of an introverted perspective of playing our game, especially at home. I think that's what he's looking to do with us. The thing about West Ham is that with both of their first choice centre-backs out, with Ogbonna and Zuma gone, they're now with Dawson and Diop, I think, are the two that are going to be there. That's such an opportunity to go for them too, because Diop's a very decent defender. I mean, he was linked with Man United, I think, for a while, but has not been in the team and has not been able to get in front of a fair few of them, like Ogbonna and Zuma, for instance. So we've got to be getting at those players. Yeah.
Would you bring Aubameyang back?
No. Not a chance. Not a chance. No.
Mo, would you bring him back?
No, because Lacazette did so well that it would be such a frustrating, illogical decision to go and do that.
Yeah. And before I come to Lev, I think this is a game that is suited to Lacazette more, because Lacazette he will give you a better physicality up front. I just think Aubameyang will just get lost in between these defenders up there, because he's not going to compete with them physically. He's not going to compete with them aerially, right? And we're not going to have somebody who's going to play him through. So he will struggle. Whereas Lacazette he will put himself about, maybe draw a foul every now and then. Lev, would you start Aubameyang Wednesday?
No, I wouldn't. But I would give him a chance to sort of make amends if he needs to come on. During the game, he needs to get us a goal. I'll certainly give him that opportunity, and if he's got anything about him, he'll be looking to make amends and try and sort of fix the relationship between the fans and himself anyway. So I will definitely have him available if we need him. There is a comment that's cracked me up here. There's one from I think it's D1, who said Antonio hasn't scored in 7 games, acting like he's Ronaldo, right? I think he's Ronaldo. Well, if you know anything about football, firstly, he's had a great season so far. He's probably been their best player by between him and Rice, let's be honest. And he's a type of striker that doesn't need to have to score every game because he does so much else for the team. So I think you need to look at it just more than just his goals when it comes to Antonio.
For those of you who who are not sure about that. When Liverpool went to West Ham, I remember Antonio gave Virgil van Dijk
torrid time.
Yeah,
torrid.
Yeah. I'm going to ask Lev, Tom, and Mo for their prediction for the West Ham game. Meanwhile, if you guys want to ask the panel any questions, please put them on the chat, and we'll bring up a few questions to everybody. So put who is your question for, and then put your question, and then we'll bring it up, and the guys can answer any of your questions. So where do I start? Tom, prediction.
Oh God. I'll remain the optimist that I am, and say 2-1 Arsenal.
Who was going to say draw?
I'll remain the optimist and go for a 1-0 loss.
Only one.
Mo, what about you?
2-2 draw, I think.
Lev?
A win takes us above them, by the way.
2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. So 2-1 Arsenal, 2-1 Arsenal. Mo says 2-2. I think we will lose, but I will go with.
No. You can't cover both bases. I feel we'll lose, but then I'm going to say this. No, just say what you think.
2-1 West Ham.
Fucking hell, man.
And I don't enjoy saying this. I don't like saying this.
I think you do, Shaheen.
No, I don't, man. I don't. I said it against Man United. I said I think we'll lose. And a lot of people, you can't say this. But this is my opinion. I just don't have confidence in our manager right now. And I don't think he will go he will go with what he needs to do. He will probably go and start sitting back like what he's done. And West Ham will just dictate the game from midfield onwards. Let's have some questions.
Can I ask one? Did anyone see the Champions League draw today?
Which one?
It's ridiculous. That and F1 yesterday.
Birata, who will score the most goals for us this season? Lev.
Aaron Ramsdale. I just don't know. Like, who's scoring for us right now? I mean, ESR's got 5.
6.
Is it 6 he's got?
Yeah.
So quickly behind him, rapidly coming up behind him is Odegaard. I'm still gonna. I can't even see Aubameyang playing right now. I'm still gonna say Aubameyang by the end of the season.
Question for Mo: would you keep Arteta if we finish outside the top 6, but won a domestic cup at the end of the season?
Oh, you're killing us with these questions.
God, that's a tough question, actually.
Horrible.
I think I would consider it. It would depend just because for me, I've said top 6 is the minimum, right? But if he goes and wins an FA Cup or even a domestic cup double, you have to factor that in. But it would depend how far outside of that top 6. So if we're finishing 8th, 9th, 10th, then no, even with an FA Cup, he's gone. But if it's a really good effort, final day, pipped to 6th, but we've won an FA Cup, then I'd say, all right, fine. We could look at potentially giving him more time.
Okay. Tom, this is for you. Who or what striker?
Can I answer for Tom?
You come again?
Does it begin with V, Tom?
Look, we ain't getting Vlahovic.
you know Viduka's retired, right?
Yeah, and Jamie Vardy rejected us. So yeah. Look, I can't say who in terms of what. It needs to be someone with multiple characteristics. It can't be so one-dimensional like we've seen. It's got to be someone with pace, but also that's a threat in the air. That's what I want, and he's obviously clinical. That's what I want to see.
Okay. Lev, this is from Seb, who does article on our channel. We'll put his direct.
Yes, Seb.
Have a look. Should Maitland-Niles come back in? He was quality against Watford and never played since.
But then you could say, should we change a winning team? We've just beaten Southampton. I can't see it happening personally. Yeah. He's going to keep the same midfield as he did before.
Okay, well, Tom, another super chat. Thanks, man. Thanks for a kind donation. ESR must start a number 10 role. Quick to move the ball.
No, keep him on the left-hand side. He's scoring there. He scored 6
No, I
goals.
agree. I think he'd be better in the middle, but that's my opinion.
Cliff, again, thank you for your super chat. Shaheen, I'll make you right, mate, but I'm saying 3-1 Irons. Hope I'm completely wrong, but like you, I have no faith in the gaffer. Thank you.
Shaheen's alter ego account.
Thank you for your support. I might appreciate it. Everyone's giving me looks on this channel and everything. Danny wants to ask, what would you say a centre midfield partnership of Xhaka and Odegaard if Emil Smith-Rowe is fit, then plays in number 10? Mo?
I don't see why you're saying Xhaka instead of Partey. I know Partey hasn't been good, but he's our best midfielder. So for me, Xhaka, Odegaard, ESR have got, but in that trio, there's minimal defensive quality. So I'd say no, it's way too risky.
Okay. Tom, do you think we'll miss out?
Do you think we miss out on Aubameyang?
Because of poor quality players around them?
No. Is Saka poor? Is Smith-Rowe poor? Is Odegaard poor? No, none of them are poor. They're all creative. They're chipping with goals, as we've seen. I think we lack their brilliance through the poor system that's being implemented rather than the players. Yeah.
Lev, this is from Gunnar Glenn. Thank you for your support, man. Much appreciated. You've always been around. Yes,
Gunnar Glenn. That's actually a good
Gabriel
question.
or Tierney for the captaincy?
Either would probably make a really good one, but I've always liked my guys being central, my captain, because I just feel like he can see everything. Whereas you're on the left-hand side, how do you influence the right-hand side and all that sort of thing? So I would probably go for Gabriel, but either one is a good shout. Tierney been captain since he was a kid, isn't he? So I mean, he's got the right attributes too. So I'd have either one over.
And last question, I'm going to put this to all three of you. Again from Gunnar Glenn. Would you give the captaincy back to Xhaka?
The fuck are you doing to us, Gunnar Glenn, with these questions?
Would you? Yes or no?
No.
Tom?
No.
Lev? Mo?
Can we give the captaincy to someone who's not threatening to leave? Can we do that?
When we've got Ramsdale and Tierney as options, for example, never mind even a Gabriel, no, of course not. Of course not.
Actually, that's a good question for 91st minute there. He says, who in your opinion has been more of a disappointment, Partey or Pepe?
Oh, that's horrid.
I say Partey for me because I had such high expectations of Partey. I was desperate for us to sign him. Absolutely desperate.
This guy is going to come and he's going to...
Wait, you lot said Partey's been a bigger disappointment than Pepe?
Yes.
Yeah, because my expectations of Partey were so high. Whereas for Pepe, I only knew him from one season where he scored a load of goals and we just, splurged 72 million quid on this kid. And, as we know from the fallout. Whereas Partey, was considered to be one of the best midfielders in Europe. And we haven't seen that. So for me, it has to be Partey.
Yeah, Partey. Mo?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, actually, because initially I was thinking Pepe, but then like Tom says, actually, Pepe, off the back of, a good 12, 18 months in the French league, Partey at the very highest level, in a brilliant team under a brilliant coach. And it's also easier to adapt in Partey's position to this league than it is in Pepe's position, especially with their styles of play, because Partey is an imposing physical guy. This league is like that. Whilst for Pepe, to play the game that he wants to play with that sort of flair and trickery and stuff in this league is very difficult to know how to be able to maintain that style of play. So in fact, actually, I'm quite torn. And
so am I, but I think I know.
No.
I've got more faith in Partey to, come good, but I am more disappointed in him.
Are you asking me, Shaheen? Do you know what? It is a really good question. So basic question, but so easily sort of missed. And it's a tearing one. But I would have to say Pepe, just. And the reason I say Pepe is, for me, firstly, I think he's been here a bit longer. He's had more opportunities. He's had less injury issues. Yes, Partey, he's in a pivotal position, and he's come with a big reputation, and maybe we're just as full as well, imagining he's going to be the next Vieira when he hasn't been. However, I do feel that there's reasons for Partey. When he first came, he's had a season and a half, or Shaheen kept on saying 2. Tom finally got him down to a season and a half in our previous conversations. But he's been here a season and a half, and for much of that, he's been injured. He hasn't had a set, solid, consistent run. And I think that once he does get that, I'm confident that Partey will come good. I'm more disappointed in Pepe because I've now lost faith that he will come good. I don't believe he will come good. I've seen glimpses of genius, but I've also seen something in him that I don't think will change. So the reason I'm really disappointed that I've given up on Pepe, I've not given up on Partey, so Pepe.
Okay, fine. And I promise this is the last question. I'm only going to put this because I don't want him to think I'm ignoring him. So why not? And he's been with us from day one that we took this channel. Why not sentiment?
He's a ride or die, man. Why not?
Yeah. So question to all. Is Arteta a bottle job like the team, and why? Part 1. After all his chat after Man U in the press conference before and after Everton game, I think he means Eddie does this and that in training. He's so important to even the Southampton pre-press conference. I really want him to stay. I think he's referring to Arteta saying he wants Eddie to stay and he's been impressing him and so. So
that sounds like they haven't found a striker for the January window. That's what that sounds like to me.
So what do you guys think? Do you think Arteta is bottling up or? No?
I think he's bottled a lot of things. The Nketiah one's strange. Like, you got Balogun coming through. We're interested in signing a striker. Like, what? Why are we so intent on keeping Nketiah, who, he's done decent at youth level. He's come on and chipped in with a couple of goals here and there, but he's not. I just don't see an Arsenal what we expect of a challenge for top 4 kind of player in Nketiah. I just don't see it. I don't know why he's desperate to keep him.
Mo?
Arteta, is he a bottler? I don't know. I wouldn't say it's fair. I wouldn't. If someone said argue the case for him being a bottler, it's not like I can point to loads and loads of things. It's not like he's been in high pressure situations where we expect him to achieve something and then he's inexplicably not achieved that thing, like Tottenham or Brendan Rodgers, for example. You can come up with quite a few of those. So I'd say no. I wouldn't say he's a bottler. I just don't think he's a great manager.
No.
It's hard for me because I'm not sure. Because the team definitely bottles it. Like when we're winning, we go back into our shell and we bottle it. And there's an argument. The argument is a team is a reflection of the manager. That's an argument, right? So it's a difficult one. He doesn't come across as a bottler. He gives it really big bollocks on press conferences, and he acts like he's tough and all of this, and he's not taking any crap. So there is that to look at. So the question I have to ask back is it our team that a bunch of bottlers, or is it Arteta? I think he's bottled some big decisions. I do think he's bottled some big decisions. And I don't think he's enforcing that belief in the team that they can't be backing off and bottling it in the big game. So until I see that, I'll have to potentially suggest, yeah, he is a bit of a bottler right now.
I disagree. I don't think he's a bottler. I just think he's a bang average manager.
Team's a reflection of the manager, Shaheen.
No, he's a mid-table manager, and he was a bang average midfielder when he was at Arsenal. So, or throughout his career, so he's just been average throughout. And
maybe all right. And
I think Mikel Arteta is, after Harry Maguire, maybe is probably the luckiest guy in the world football.
Jesus, after Harry Maguire. What is your problem with Harry Maguire? Well, where did Harry Maguire come from? Like, where in this conversation?
He's played for Man United and England. He's just rubbish. I can't believe he's got to where he is now, Harry Maguire. I'm not discussing that. And I think Mikel Arteta, he's even luckier than him because he's got zero management experience, nothing. My man walks into Arsenal Football Club as a manager. Now, if that is not lucky, boy,
I can't disagree with you there.
Boy.
Anyway, guys, it's me.
Let's go street.
Always speaking to you guys. I love these shows. I hope you guys in the comment enjoy it as well. Please like the video, like it for us. Leave comment for us, please.
I want to see lineups in the comments. We're not getting enough comments. I want to see lineups.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
Leave your lineup for us.
Yeah, and how's he going to start? How's he going to play it?
I'll tell you what. Since it's Christmas, I don't know how you guys feel about this. I want to ask you guys, everybody, leave your lineup in a comment for us, right? And then whoever gets it right, we'll have them on the next show, and we'll bring them on the channel so they can interact with you guys, and we can have them on the next channel.
Well, I didn't agree to that. I'm not speaking to I'm not speaking to them.
What do you guys think? No, it's a little competition. I was going to say we'll give somebody £50, but it's a bit obvious how.
What they can host instead of you, and they can host instead of you. Is that what you're saying? So they get the hosting job for one episode. Is that what you're saying, Shaheen?
Yeah, no problem. If that's what you guys are cool with. Mo, you got any ideas?
What, for a host or for the lineup?
No,
I've got plenty of ideas for hosts.
Yeah, man. I'm already
Transfer window's coming up.
Someone's already said
put
Maximus
their lineup
as
in
a
the
host.
comments, and then whoever gets it right, obviously, will do. Not in here, Seb. When we finish on the comments, because we can't come back to this one. So when we finish the show, in the comments, write your lineup, and then whoever gets it right, what more?
I feel like it's not that hard. I think the lineup is quite easy. We know the back five. We know it's Lacazette. Odegaard surely will be playing.
That much.
I put Palestinian
play. Martinelli's obviously going to play. That's 9.
You never know. Maybe he brings Pepe back. Maybe he bring Aubameyang back.
I think the only thing is for me is ESR fit enough to start now. That's the only thing. Otherwise, it's going to be the same.
Or what does he do when
the
ESR is fit?
And the backline and the keeper will be the same.
The question is, what if ESR is fit?
Personally.
If ESR's fit, will he drop one of them to bring him back in?
I think he'll drop Martinelli.
No, you can't. Martinelli's been playing
well.
really well.
You can't, but I think he will.
Don't you talk to me like that.
Anyway, guys, put your lineup when we finish the video, not now. Put your lineups in the comments, and then whoever wins will think of something.
We'll be hosting the show. It's going to be Mo from Palestine, isn't it?
Anyway,
all right.
Last thoughts, Tom?
As always, absolute pleasure joining you three, as it always is. Happy to be back. Apologies for my absence last week, and I'll try not to make it a habit.
One more and you're out.
Who are you going to replace me with?
He looks a bit like Arteta, as I usually know.
Irreplaceable, Tom.
Oh, I'm like Martin Odegaard then. That's what you're saying.
Right. I don't know about that. Mo, your final thoughts?
My final thoughts. I'll just share something I saw on Twitter the other day. There was someone who, the start of the goal that we scored against Southampton, which is Arteta ball, as people are calling it. Ramsdale came under pressure and played the ball out. I think it was to Tomiyasu or someone, I can't even remember. But anyway, there was a tweet with a reply, and that reply was quote tweeted. And these were all Arsenal fans, all talking about how badly Bernd Leno would have failed in that moment.
Oh,
so here were some Arsenal fans, off the back of our biggest margin of victory in the Premier League this season. After losing 2 games, now won a game, really positive day, clean sheet, 3 goals, happy days. And here they are, criticising a player in Bernd Leno, who was very good for us. And since being dropped for Ramsdale, who has surpassed all expectations, has been nothing but professional, kept his head down when he has played, he's done well. And here they are coming up with imaginary scenarios to get worked up about after Arsenal are going to win a game 3-0. And I just thought to myself, my God, the state of our fan base sometimes. So I guess my final thought for the day is, don't be an idiot. Just enjoy the good times.
There's 2 other examples like that, Mo. The other one is after we won that 3-0, was the people saying it was only Southampton. I hate when people do that. It's like, just to appreciate the win. I don't mind an analysis like a few days after, but if your immediate reaction to winning 3-0 was Southampton, no matter.
Yeah.
And the other one is the Odegaard, we scored a header. That as well. It's like, the classic lines.
What? I don't even understand that. What do you mean it was a header?
I've said it. He was like, he headed the ball in. Like, it's like ignoring the rest of the performance. But yeah, sure.
I think he had a decent game. For once, he had a game where he looked like he actually took the game by the scruff of the neck a little bit. Sorry, Shaheen. What was he asking? Final thoughts? Please, God. Just 3 points against a half-decent team. That's my thoughts. Please perform at the Emirates against a good team. Get some like confidence, beat a side that's one that we could look at and say there's some progress. That's what my final thought is. Please beat a good team at home and keep yourself in the hunt. Show some balls. Be brave. That's my only thought. I just want us to be brave. That's it. Simple.
Yeah. No, I actually echo those, and I want us to go out there and start playing against West Ham and play like we're Arsenal and we're at home. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in, watching us. Please hit the like, subscribe to Arsenal Lounge, subscribe to the Gooner Talk TV, subscribe to Mo Hader on YouTube. So thank you on behalf of myself and my co-host and co-founder, Lev. Again, thank you very much for tuning in and for your support as always. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you guys next week, Monday. Bye-bye.